Okay, the altars. I'll get straight to the point. This is one of the most interesting games I've played all year, and if you've been following this one, that's probably not going to surprise you all that much. If you're unfamiliar, this is the latest game from 11-bit Studios in Poland, who flew onto my radar all the way back in 2014 with a little game called This War of Mine, one of the most successful indie games to ever release. That was a survival game, placing you in the shoes of a group of civilians in a war-torn country, scrounging for resources to survive, but it had a twist, placing a strong emphasis on those tough moral decisions that would greatly impact how the game would play out. That game was really incredible, and it still holds up. Definitely go play it if you get the chance, but I feel where 11-bit really found their way into the public eye was with their following title, Frostpunk. Frostpunk is the closest thing you can get to Snowpiercer the video game, if, you replace the train with a giant coalfield generator. I digress. Frostpunk's specialty was its tension, constantly balancing resource management with the needs of the people you were trying to protect, and it really pushed you into some uncomfortable situations. I never felt like I was truly on top of anything in Frostpunk, as one error too many could leave your situation spiraling out of control, and again, this was compounded by an emphasis on some really tough moral choices. Whether you'd send the kids into the mines to secure coal you so desperately needed, despite the obvious ethical risks that come along with that. 11-bit's previous outings are all excellent strategy games in their own right, with a broad, overarching nature to their stories that allowed for a lot of variety when it came to their outcomes. But when it came to, proper structured narrative, they definitely fell a little bit short, and that's totally okay. I think those concessions are part of what makes something like Frostpunk so brilliant. A completely replayable, intriguing story about the remainder of humanity doing whatever it takes to survive. It's in this framework that the altars came to be, and when I say it's like you took all of the best parts of this studio's previous work and wrapped it up in a narrative that genuinely, and I mean genuinely, poses some thought-provoking questions about the nature of consciousness itself. Man, this game is just so unique in a way that was probably pretty obvious from its reveal trailer 3 years ago. I mean, just look at this shit, it's crazy. It's incredibly impressive, especially considering how good some of this studio's previous work is, and in this video, I want to make the case for why you should give it a shot, because it seems to have flown a little bit under the radar for a lot of people. So, let's get into it. Jan Dulski is the sole survivor of a deep space mining expedition gone wrong, with a ship crash killing his entire crew, leaving him stranded with nothing but himself and a mobile base, a giant wheel with Fallout Shelter-style modules situated within it. In an effort to sustain himself in the hope of rescue, Jan very quickly discovers exactly what the mining operation was sent to extract, a mysterious substance called rupidium, as incomprehensible as it is beautiful, and upon its discovery, is quickly contacted by multiple parties trying to ensure its safe transport back to Earth. We quickly learn that Earth is nearly uninhabitable, and rupidium may be the only thing that could possibly save humanity from certain demise, given its ability to speed up organic growth. Food production would become trivial, plants and meat could be cultivated in mere days, but there's a catch. Rupidium is quite unstable, requiring a sophisticated method of transport to get it back to Earth safely, a challenge too much to bear for just one man. It's here that Jan is instructed by his Earth contact to use the rupidium on a sample of his own DNA placed in an artificial womb, and roughly 8 hours later, we have the start of 100 Jan Dulskis versus one gorilla. Wait, what? I mean, roughly 8 hours later, a man that looks just like Jan is born, although he's different somehow. This Jan isn't an identical copy, but a theoretical construct had he made different choices, drastically altering his life path, but still ending up on the same mining expedition in the end. One problem: this person was just born to a machine, and their entire life before this moment only exists in their head. Spooky stuff, and as expected, he doesn't take it super well, fully understanding that he has been manufactured with false memories with the sole purpose of assisting Jan Prime in his mining endeavors. I'll describe the story of the alters as an existential crisis waiting to happen, as when the plot marches forward, the implications of what you've done become more apparent. One alter is not enough to get the job done, so, out of necessity, Jan begins to make more clones, each with fundamentally different personalities and perceived experiences. Look, the game could totally just roll with the quirky nature of existing among a group of clones, but my favorite thing about it is how it really tries to grapple with the existential level threat of having the ability to bring people into existence without their consent. In a way, they've been ripped away from the lives they know to simply serve the purpose of saving a humanity that isn't even theirs from the threat of extinction. Should they bow down to serve this function? Would you? It's in these questions and the many more that the alters poses to you in which it's most interesting. It's a philosophy essay in video game format, examining not just the fundamentals of the human experience, but also asking questions about our future in ways that stretch beyond measly what-ifs. How would a person with an experience that is fundamentally mismatched from reality truly integrate into society? Is it even possible? And is that experience real and worth protecting? And this is the best part about the alters, in my opinion. All of these issues that it poses speak to something much more fundamental than 11-bit's previous work. While games like Frostpunk and This War of Mine were written impeccably, the alters feels like a true step forward, grappling with ideas rather than scenarios, and genuinely asking you to come to the table when considering what they mean. At the risk of sounding cringe, it really makes you feel like the alters. Wait, what? No. It's brilliant, it's thought-provoking, and it's existential dread-inducing in a way that I really don't want to spoil. And if you're at all interested in moral philosophy, this paints it onto a canvas that I haven't really seen explored before. At the very least, the narrative is incredibly intriguing, and it's worth experiencing just for that fact. It's not just the broader implications of the story that makes the alters interesting though. Its writing is good enough to stand on its own, but where it truly goes gangbusters is in the level of choice that it affords to you as a player. Almost every single interaction you have with the clones, and with the contacts on Earth, have these deep-rooted impacts on how the story will play out. And I don't mean like minor dialogue differences, I mean fundamental changes on how the narrative moves forward. Like, I've had a look at some of the scenarios that I didn't see, and for a game with such a strong narrative, the fact that it can vary so much is really impressive, speaking to the chops of 11-bit's writing team. You have a lot of freedom when it comes to choosing what clones you bring into existence based on your needs, and they all have significantly different personalities and skills, but also problems that they're going to bring forward. Take the miner, a gruff blue-collar yarn that in his mind was involved in a mining accident that caused him to lose his arm. When he awakens on the mining expedition with his body in fighting form, arm and all, that idea and the phantom pain causes him a lot of grief as he feels almost alien in his own body and might develop a substance abuse problem to deal with the stress. Each alter, as far as I can tell, has their own accompanying questline asking you to perform specific tasks for them, finding items out in the world or helping them do something for the group. It's in depth in a way that's unexpected, given the fact you're probably going to have a different set of clones depending on what path you take in the story. It's not just how they cope with their own problems, however. The clones also have their own moral philosophies, and when the game starts asking you to do some pretty gnarly shit out of total necessity, the path you will take directly impacts how your alters will behave in turn, and they can outright abandon you if they deem you've crossed a line. In my first run, I actually only had one alter left with me at the end, after making a tough decision that I believed would have the best outcome for the group. They didn't agree. This writing is only bolstered by Alex Jordan's excellent performance, or should I say performances, as he voices every single version of Jan in the game, each having a distinctive tone of voice based on their personality.
Ever heard of a surgeon celebrating while the patient is still on the operating table? Yada yada yada. I bet your taste in music is just about as fresh as that patient.
Like, you can seriously tell them all apart just by how they talk, which is amazing. Like, seriously, a few of these characters sounded a little similar, but Jordan's range here is really commendable. It's in these performances that you get a handle on each clone's unique personality, their hopes, their fears, and this would still be fine if the game just used this as a blank template for how to treat them like it is in so many other games, but no. These people don't just present as minions to do your bidding, but individuals that serve the plot in their own unique ways, with genuinely moving character moments at times, which really surprised me given this game's looser structure. The writing is just phenomenal. Now let me be clear, if The Alters was just a complex exploration of moral philosophy, I would still wholeheartedly recommend it to you, but here's the thing. This is a whole-ass strategy base builder as well, and it's a damn good one at that. The Alters gameplay has three main pillars, and those are its base building, its third-person exploration, and some light social sim elements involving Jan's clones, which I've already alluded towards. And each of these is as fundamental to the experience and equally well thought out. The first thing I'm going to point at is the exploration. On his journey to source rupidium, Jan will have to venture out of the base through a relatively hazardous environment in order to find the materials he'll need to progress. It's here you'll not only find wreckages from the crash, but also resource deposits that will fuel your base building exploits, most of which involve finding a node to place an extractor on and connecting it to the base via a power line. I just have to point out, these spaces are fucking gorgeous as well, not just showcasing UE5's visual fidelity, but also 11-bit's fantastic art design, really giving this game a unique visual style. I don't want to spoil too much, but this world is just so full of mystery and wonder, with some genuine surprises that are as weird as they are captivating. 11-bit has some really talented people working on environmental design, and it shows. You know, the resource gathering, it's a pretty simple concept, so its complexity comes from the environmental navigation itself. Jan's suit only has a limited battery, and at night, the planet's radiation level rises to the point where it's unsafe to stay outside, meaning that even your exploration is this mini game of resource management, as every action you take, be it mining materials, climbing a wall, it all eats into this increasingly valuable time budget, as you only have a limited amount of days to complete your task. It doesn't help that the planet is absolutely teeming with anomalies, incomprehensible entities that behave in ways that you have to experience to understand. If your Outer Wilds or Pacific Drive alarm is going off in your head, it's similar. It definitely flirts with the idea, but it doesn't quite hit the depth that those games reveled in. It's just nice to see something like it pop up, mechanics that you have to experience to learn. Dealing with these anomalies also drains your battery, meaning you're going to consistently have to weigh your traversal against your safety and the time it takes to recharge. You get the idea. It's a great system, and that integrates almost seamlessly into the game's base building. The base in this game, the massive wheel with the floating modules, is really reminiscent of the base in Fallout Shelter. Every module serves some purpose, some more important than others, from mineral processing to crafting, food production to clone growing. Every component will at least serve some purpose in your goal of getting a substantial amount of rupidium back to Earth. And yeah, the system functions as you'd expect from how it looks. A grid allows you to fit pieces together in a way that allows them all to be connected with elevators and hallways. Some pieces are bigger than others, and some can be moved but not destroyed. The only consequence of placing these parts in an inefficient manner is your own sanity training every time you have to walk through the base. Trust me, I've been there. And overall, I think it works really well for what it's trying to do. Base upkeep is determined by how many repair kits and radiation filters you have on hand, and the skills of the alters you bring into the world. The technician is especially fast at fixing broken modules, where the refiner is more efficient when assigned to work in the refinery, huge surprise. And again, if you're going to be doing work yourself in the base, it consumes that all-important fundamental and limited resource, time, meaning it's imperative that you assign your alters in an efficient manner so you can commit to more important tasks while they're doing the essential busy work. The game is split into 3 acts, where the end of each part involves a quest that requires a lot of resources to accomplish, and your main goal is to complete these tasks before sunrise, because the sun will incinerate everything on the planet. Yikes. Again, it's not all that complicated when saying it out loud, but what the game absolutely excels at is this feeling of escalating tension as your deadline grows ever closer, your alters grow ever restless, and you grow ever more unsure of exactly if you'll accomplish what you set out to do. The game will consistently throw a wrench in the works, always at a really inconvenient time, meaning you'll have to divert resources away from your main task in order to solve a problem. Be it a radiation storm that greatly increases the wear on your base and stops you from going outside, to one of your clones having their own existential meltdown, running the risk of jeopardizing your whole mission if not dealt with. Minor spoilers ahead, I'll mark it in the timestamps. The miner I mentioned before and his phantom pain becomes a real problem. He consistently complains about it, requiring a steady supply of pain meds to deal with his past life's injury. This causes him to become sloppy, and after a major accident on the mining rig, I made the call to pull him off of the medication, despite his pain. As me and the boys were prepping for an upcoming radiation storm, which requires all hands on deck, the miner literally cut his own arm off to stop the pain, rendering him all but useless in the upcoming crisis, potentially forever, but I won't spoil it. The game is absolutely full of situations like this, forcing you to make tough, last-minute decisions to potentially avoid catastrophe, or perhaps lead you hurtling straight towards it. And if you've played Frostpunk, you know exactly what I mean by that. It's great, I can't put it any other way. While these individual elements are incredibly compelling, whole games have been built around mechanics with less depth than these. What the Alters really succeeds in doing is bringing them all together and truly becoming something greater than the sum of its parts. It really feels like the culmination of years of work on behalf of 11-bit. This War of Mine and Frostpunk are both brilliant in their own right, so when I say those games feel like stepping stones to get here, it's pretty clear how high praise that is. Its expert use of tension, the slow build of awe-inspiring discovery on this planet that seems to break every rule you'd come to expect, character drama, and finally, the rush towards the finish when it's clear that your time is running out. It's a masterful execution that I firmly believe could only be made by this team. The choice the game affords you, both simple dilemmas like whether or not to build a gym in your base, to complex moral conundrums that test your ability to think critically and still leave you feeling like you might not have made the right decision in the end. For the narrative to say so much and still be this open to affording you genuine choice is really spectacular. Even the comparatively less interesting or complex elements, the base building and mining, come together and fold themselves into a package that serves the narrative immaculately. It asks some really big questions and never gives you so much that it feels like the game is thinking for you. I'm not exactly calling it profound, but I'm also not calling it profound. It lets you come to your own conclusions and asks you to come to the table when confronted with some real existential problems that we very well might face in society in the future. All in all, The Alters is one of the most surprising games I've played all year. It's unique, it's thought-provoking, and most importantly, it's heaps of fun. Given the massive amount of choice afforded to consumers, which is a great thing by the way, sometimes games that are truly excellent can garner less attention than they deserve, and that's why you should play The Alters. Trust me, it'd be a shame to skip this one. Thank you so much for watching. Seriously, it means the world to me that people show up for these videos. I'm playing Death Stranding 2 at the moment, and I am a massive Kojima stan. So I want to make something a little more in depth for that one. I think it's genuinely fantastic. So get subscribed so you don't miss that. Hope you have the best day. See you soon.